How are you guys doing? Today is December 1st, 2020 out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to take you through yesterday's Monday Night Football matchup. And of course, I'm going to preview tonight's game that will end week 12. And also, I'm going to lead you into what's going on with the fifth week of Group Stage Champions League play. But just to get started, I'm going into last night's football game. The Seattle Seahawks were able to go into Philadelphia and beat the Eagles 23-7. They were leading 23-9 up until like the last play from scrimmage for the Eagles. The Eagles were able to score, get a 2-point conversion. They were able to break the 6.5-point spread. I have friends that lost bets, so that was very interesting. But Seattle basically held us at arm's length for the entire game. Looking at how both teams fared, for the Eagles, their starting quarterback Carson Wentz was able to complete 25 of his 45 passes, throwing for 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. He also added 42 yards on the ground. That would combine for a total of 257 total yards of offense. Through the air, Dallas Goedert was their leading receiver. He had 75 yards on 7 receptions. He had a touchdown. And then Richard Rodgers also had a receiving touchdown. He had 53 yards on 3 receptions. On the defensive side of the ball for the Eagles, Darius Slay was their leading tackler. He had 9 of them on the day. Fletcher Cox was able to log a sack for the Eagles. Same with Derek Barnett, one of their young guys out of Tennessee. Looking at how the Seattle Seahawks fared, their elite starting quarterback, Russell Wilson, would complete 22 of his 31 passes, throwing for 230 yards and a touchdown. He also ran for 12 yards on the day. That would give him a total of 242 yards on the day. Their leading rusher was Chris Carson, who had 41 yards and 8 carries. He had a touchdown on the day. And through the air, David Moore ended up having a receiving touchdown, but he ended up with -6 yards on 3 receptions for the day. But their leading yardage receiver, who led the entire day, was DK Metcalf. He had 177 yards on 10 receptions for the day, 177 of Russell Wilson's 230 yards. So he had an amazing game. On the defensive side of the ball, their elite safety, Jamal Adams, had finished with 9 total tackles on the day, and he had a sack. KJ Wright finished with 5 tackles and a sack as well. Seattle had a total of 6 sacks against Carson Wentz, and Quandre Diggs would end up logging the only interception of the night to go along with his 3 tackles. With this win, the Seattle Seahawks are sitting at the top of the NFC West thanks to the Los Angeles Rams loss to the San Francisco 49ers on Sunday. And looking at the NFC East, with this loss, the Philadelphia Eagles are now 3rd in the NFC East after losing the division. Washington and New York were able to win this week, so they were able to surpass them. But Philadelphia is still half a game above Dallas thanks to their draw to Cincinnati earlier in the season. And previewing Wednesday's game between the Ravens and the Steelers, they will play on NBC at 3:40 Eastern Standard Time. They're doing so. They've been delaying the game because of COVID concerns with the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson's been ruled out. So I mean, it's a lot's going on with the Ravens, and the Steelers are just trying to get their 11th win of the season. But the week isn't over until those two teams play before Thursday Night Football. But with that said, I'm gonna jump right into Champions League to show you what's been going on. Through 4 weeks of play, 6 teams have already advanced, but of course the other 10 have to advance as well. Starting with the earlier games, or I'll just go table by table. Starting with the first table, Lokomotiv Moscow is going to take on FC Salzburg. They're both sitting at 3 and 4 in Group A, but Lokomotiv Moscow is 1 game away from surpassing Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid plays Bayern Munich at 3 o'clock. Bayern Munich is sitting at the top of that table. They've already clinched the best record in that table. There's their elite striker, Robert Lewandowski, their GOAT goalie, Manuel Neuer, and one of their midfielders, Leon Goretzka. They're all staying in Munich as they kind of send a lot of their younger guys to come on and face this Atletico Madrid side, and I think they still have a very good shot of winning this game. Atletico Madrid needs to win this because if Moscow beats Salzburg, Moscow could pass Madrid in the table and could get them 1 game away from clinching a spot in knockout stages. Looking at the Group B matchups on the day, Shakhtar Donetsk is going to play Real Madrid at 12:55. That's one of the earlier matchups. Real Madrid is sitting in the 2nd spot in the table. Shakhtar Donetsk is 3rd. But they only 3 points separates them. If Donetsk wins this game, they could They could have the same amount of points as Real Madrid, but on goal differential, they wouldn't pass them. And also the other matchup will be between Borussia Mönchengladbach and Internazionale Milan. Borussia Mönchengladbach is sitting at the top of the table by 1 point, so of course a win here would be very crucial for them. A win here would clinch a spot in knockout stages for them. And Inter, a win for them would at least keep them back in the hunt. They are 5 points behind Real Madrid, and if Shakhtar Donetsk is able to beat Real Madrid, Inter will be mathematically alive in that table. In Group C, Manchester City is going to face off against FC Porto at 3 o'clock. Man City has already clinched the table. So has FC Porto. One win or a draw will mathematically clinch them because they're 6 points ahead of Olympiacos with 2 games left to play. Olympiacos is going to take on Marseille at 3 o'clock. Marseille, considering they've lost all 4 of their matchups, they are mathematically eliminated and they will get delegated to the Europa League. Olympiacos, a win for them could probably keep them alive if Man City is able to beat FC Porto. And then last but not least, looking at the Group D matchups, Liverpool is going to face off against Ajax Amsterdam. In that table, they're both sitting at the top of that table. Liverpool is sitting only 2 points above second and third place Ajax and Atalanta. So both teams are really trying to get a win here. For Liverpool, a win here would mean that they would clinch a spot in Champions League. Even a draw would mean that they would still have to would have to win in their last game. But that's exactly how close it is. And Atalanta is catching a break as they face off against FC Midtjylland, who's sitting at the bottom of the table with 0 points. They've won none of their games. But Atalanta, a win here and a Liverpool loss could eventually mean that could see them jumping into either the top or the second place spot. No matter what, if they win, they will secure a second place spot in this table. But of course, all that comes down to how the games play out. But of course, with that said, today is Tuesday, December 1st, 2020 out here in this quarantine. And also, considering yesterday, I forgot to mention Sarah Fuller, the first female kicker for a Power 5 conference playing for Vanderbilt. I will give you your own special shout out. But of course, with that said, I am James Sims. This is The Elite, and I want to thank you once again for listening to all 7 minutes of this piece. Tomorrow, I'm going to cover the Champions League games that were played today, preview the last football game between the Steelers and the Ravens, and of course, preview the second match day of the 5th week of Group Stage Champions League. But with that said, I hope all is well, and I will catch you tomorrow. Peace out.